I don't know of anybody who's really a biblical literalist, because everybody says, in the book of Luke, chapter 1 says, this is a account I put together from eyewitnesses of the life of Jesus. So that's a historical prose narrative, and you read it as a historical prose narrative. When you get to Psalms, it's strophic in nature. It's got parallelism, so we know it's poetry, and so you read it as poetry. You don't take it literally. And when David says the stars came and fought against the Assyrians, we know that that's poetry. Then there are some places, like Genesis 1, chapter 1, like the book of Ecclesiastes, there's a couple places in the Bible where the genre is not easy to discern, and where people are going to be arguing about whether you take that literally or not. Obviously, Genesis 1 has a big impact on how you understand evolution and so forth. So I would consider myself a person who believes in the full authority of the Bible, and yet, even if you believe that, there's room for debate about what parts of the Bible you take literally and not. Yet when somebody says, are you a Bible literalist, they probably will still think I am a biblical literalist, because I think Jesus actually rose from the dead. And if some people say, well, that makes you a literalist, and I don't think that's what the word literal means, but I'll go with it. For example, though, Genesis 2 and 3, I think, are written, you might say, as historical prose narrative, whereas Genesis 1 is not. So, I would actually, personally, I would say I don't take Genesis 1 literally. I actually do take the talking snake literally. That's why and there's people around me who have the same view of the Bible, who would draw the line on the other side of the snake. And there's other people who would draw it all the way at the beginning and say, no, you have to take Genesis 1 literally. So this is all within the fraternity and the sorority, you might say, of people who believe that you have to take the Bible as the full authoritative Word of God. So I do think Bill Maher is missing the spectrum. It's a little bit like, if you say to a person of a particular race, all you people look alike, that's awfully insulting. And for Bill Maher to look at, say, evangelical Christians and say, all you people are literalists, is just as insulting. The essence of the model is in the book, The Prodigal God. Because the prodigal God is about the famous story in Luke 15 that Jesus tells, that is usually called the parable of the prodigal son. If you read it fully, it's actually about two sons. One is the younger brother who goes off and squanders his money on prostitutes. And the other is the elder brother who stays home and obeys the father. And what I look at that as is the younger brother symbolizing, you might say, the secular person who says, I can live any way I want. The elder brother symbolizing the religious person who's very moralistic and self-righteous. And both being alienated from the father. And that's Jesus' way of saying these are both wrong. So that's a great way to explain in with one simple narrative how our model differs. I think most people tend to say, well, you can go off and live your way, or else you can live God's way. And that's the two approaches. And a lot of secular people say, fine, I've seen the God's way thing. It's filled with moralism, self-righteousness, and oppression. I'm going to go and make up my own mind as to how to live. And a lot of believers think that there's only two ways, and I'm trying to show that there's three. And there's another approach.